The Senate will please come to order. Sorry for the slight delay. We had technical issues throughout the whole building on the computer world, and we want to make sure this is publicly accessible as well. Today's devotional exercises will be conducted by the Reverend Dr. Joel Hubbard III of the Essex Center United Methodist Church. Welcome.
Not sure if my voice will carry. Was told this was not an amplifying microphone, and I know I have a dainty voice. I appreciate the opportunity and the invitation to come and be a part of your session, and I will endeavor to be timely, as I know that is critical in your work this day. This afternoon, I wanted to just ask you to reflect on a question that, for me, sometimes I get so caught up in the work that I do that I forget to ask myself, remind myself of the question of how did I get to this place in life? And so just for a moment, some of you may be in a first term, some significantly longer. But just take a moment, and I would ask you to think back and what brought you to this place. What motivated you to seek a life of public service? What provides you with a sense of passion, even to this day, to invest the energy and the time, the effort that it takes to be a public servant? For me, it harkens back to a phrase that the matriarchs in my clan continued to lift up throughout my childhood, which was, to whom much is given, much is required. In that sense of when one experiences a blessing or a privilege or some type of abundance in their life, that there is a responsibility that we hold to one another in order to share that experience, that it's not for me, but for us. As I say, the women in my clan were the ones that verbalized those experiences, those expectations, those hopes. And my grandfathers, who I was blessed to live with for a number of years in my childhood and youth, lived that out for me particularly. They were persons who, like many of our grandparents, passed through some incredibly difficult times. World wars and Great Depressions, a great influenza, who experienced great changes in the course of society. They were persons, neither of which my grandfathers graduated from grammar school. But in the course of their lives, they forever saw themselves as being abundant in the life that they had, and so were forever connected to not only their families, but to the communities in which they lived. It was something that influenced me, and as I look back, profoundly called me to a life that was connected to the community. And so as you go about your tasks this day, of seeking to find a wise and faithful path for the communities of our state, as you seek to protect the most vulnerable, as you seek to care for the environment in which we live, these things require an intense commitment. And I suspect in your experience as well as in mine as we seek to develop community. That sometimes the task gets overwhelming. And some of you may be here this day, you might find yourselves at a place of discouragement. Maybe you're in a place of hopefulness, but maybe you're questioning whether or not you're going to be able to meet the final call that you need or the expectation that you have. And then I just offer the word of hope and encouragement, shared from a wise sage in the first century, Rabbi Tarfon, and you may be familiar with this. We're not obligated to complete the work, but neither are we free to give it up. And so, as you go about your work today, I pray that you will find the inspiration to seek the wisdom and the compassion and the understanding for all the members of your constituency, whether they are of your party, of your ilk, whether they understand the depth of your commitment, but to know that what you do has a profound impact on people, on family, on us. And so I offer this prayer. Holy One, whose name we speak in many tongues, whose vision we imagine in many forms, I ask that you would inspire this body, that you would grant to them discernment and understanding, and that they would each know how blessed and wondrous they are in your sight. Hold us together as one family with many faces and many voices, but one heart and one spirit. Amen. Thank you for your time. Blessings.
Are there any announcements? Seeing none, we have appearing on the calendar for notice S-124. S-124 affecting the expenditures of the state is going to be referred to the Committee on Appropriations per Rule 31. We have 31 gubernatorial appointments to distribute to the respective committees for your work, and those will be passed out accordingly. We have a Senate resolution for introduction, JRS 19. It is a committee resolution. I'm going to ask that it be read the first time and treated as a bill. Please read the title of the resolution, please.
JRS 19, Joint Resolution relating to state land transaction in Jamaica State Park and Coolidge State Forest.
That resolution will be treated as a bill and will be placed on the calendar for notice. We have a number of bills for introduction and reference today, the first being S-126. S-126 was introduced by Senator Lyons. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title only.
S-126, an act relating to expanding community health teams to provide additional mental health and substance use disorder services.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. We have S-127 introduced by Senator Vyhovsky and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
S-127, an act relating to the creation of new types of cannabis establishment licenses and the provision of cannabis excise tax revenue to the Cannabis Business Development Fund communities that have been disproportionately impacted by cannabis prohibition and substance misuse treatment.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. We have S-128 introduced by Senator Vyhovsky and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
S-128, an act relating to the regulation of kratom products.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. We have S-129 introduced by Senator Vyhovsky and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S-129, an act relating to employee privacy protections.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. We have S-130 introduced by Senator Renner and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
S-130, an act relating to miscellaneous employee rights and protections.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. We have a number of House bills for reference, the first being H-40 introduced by Representative Rachelson. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H-40, an act relating to non-consensual removal or tampering with a condom.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary. We have H-94 introduced by Representative Brumsted and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H-94, an act relating to removing the Reach Up rateable reduction.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. We have H-217 introduced by Representative Marcotte and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H-217, an act relating to miscellaneous workers' compensation amendments.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. We have H-227 introduced by Representative Lalonde and others. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H-227, an act relating to the Vermont Uniform Power of Attorney Act.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary. We have H-411 introduced by the House Committee on Healthcare. Please listen to the first reading of the bill by title.
H-411, an act relating to extending COVID-19 healthcare regulatory flexibility.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Health and Welfare. And we have H-429 introduced by the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs. Please listen to the reading of the bill by title.
H-429, an act relating to miscellaneous changes to election laws.
Now you've heard the first reading of the bill is referred to the Committee on Government Operations. That will bring us to the orders of the day. We have up for third reading S-14, an act relating to Justice Reinvestment 2 reporting requirements. Third reading was ordered. Are there any amendments before third reading? Seeing none, please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S-14, an act relating to Justice Reinvestment 2 reporting requirements.
Now you've heard the third reading of the bill. Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, I left my list of witnesses in the cloakroom, and today I wanted to provide that to the body. We heard from the state court administrator with the Vermont Judiciary, the director of field services with the Department of Corrections, the executive director of racial equity at the Agency of the Administration, the executive director of policy and strategic initiatives with the Department of Corrections, the chief of communications and legislative affairs with the Agency of Human Services, the racial equity policy and research analyst with the Office of Racial Equity, the co-director of Community Justice Division with the Attorney General's Office, the director of research and data analytics with the Department of Corrections, the policy director at the Agency of Human Services, the chair of RDAP, legislative counsel, the Office of Legislative Counsel, the senior legal and policy advisor with the Council of State Governments Justice Center, the executive director at the Crime Research Group, the deputy program director at the Council of State Governments Justice Center, and the chief superior judge with the Vermont Judiciary. Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have passed S-14. We now have up for consideration S-95, Third reading was ordered. The question is, are there any amendments before third reading? Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am presenting this amendment, but I have run it by the Finance Committee and no one has objected. This amendment is another technical. In Section 5, it would strike out 8 VSA 41A and insert in lieu thereof the following 9 VSA 41A. This is a technical correction.
Question is, shall the bill be amended as offered by the senator from Washington? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have further amended the bill. Are there any other amendments before third reading? Seeing none, please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S95, an act related to banking and insurance.
Now you've heard the third reading of the bill. The question is, shall the bill pass? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have passed S95. We now have up for consideration Joint Resolution 17. The resolution, was referred to the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. Please listen to the second reading of the bill. The resolution,
JRS 17, joint resolution urging U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services to comply with the expedited asylum hearing provisions of the Afghan Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2022.
Now you've heard the second reading of the bill. For the report of the resolution, the senator from Chittenden Central. I am inaccurate in that entirely. The senator from Windham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joint Resolution 17 urges that the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services comply with the process established for Afghan nationals in acknowledgement of their support of the United States. The Afghan Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2022 included an expedited asylum review process with a deadline of final administrative action within 150 days in the absence of extraordinary circumstances. More than 40 asylum applications have been filed for Afghans in Vermont with no federal government response and no apparent extraordinary circumstances. This resolution is intended to bring public attention to the harm that the USCIS bureaucratic inaction causes both the Afghans living in Vermont as well as the danger to the family members who remain in Afghanistan or who are living as refugees in a third country. The resolution does not ask for special treatment, just that the U.S. government make good on its promises to its allies. I'd like to bring attention to the last two clauses of the resolution. First, that Afghans living in the United States on parole status must have their own asylum application approved before petitioning for relatives who want to come to the United States. And second, this failure to process the applications is hindering those in Vermont from building new lives, which is a hardship, but they bear as well, and more importantly, the knowledge of the serious and life-threatening situation of their family members who are so far unable to join them. The resolution concludes that the General Assembly urges USCIS to comply fully with the accelerated asylum hearing provisions of the Afghan Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2022. And the committee received testimony from an Afghan asylum seeker who arrived in Brattleboro in January of 2022. He's currently part of a regional partnership working to resettle refugees in southern Vermont, helping them to access employment and training. We also heard from an attorney with the Association of Africans Living in Vermont who has processed most of those filings, and our own legislative counsel. Mr. President, your Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs Committee passed this resolution on a vote of 5-0-0 and asked for your support. Thank you.
The question is, shall the resolution be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of JRS 17. That completes the orders of the day. Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pending announcements, I would move that the Senate stand in adjournment until Thursday, March 16th at 1 p.m.
The senator from Chittenden Central has moved that Senate, pending announcement, the Senate stand adjournment until 1 p.m. Thursday, March 16th. Are there any announcements? Senator from Addison.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Government Operations Committee will meet promptly at 1:30. Thank you.
Senator from Bennington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Education will meet at 1:45.
Senator from Washington.
Senate Finance will meet at 1:30.
Senator from Chittenden Southeast.
Thank you, Mr. President. Permission to make 3 announcements. Okay, great.
Don't have to
I
ask
just
me for
wanted
that.
to
It's all yours.
Preview that. So Senate Economic Development will meet at 8 a.m. tomorrow, just have a busy crossover schedule. I wanted to remind people that today we are welcoming visitors from the Developmental Disabilities Housing Initiative. They're hosting a reception in the cafeteria from 4 to 6 p.m. this afternoon, and all are welcome and encouraged to come hear about the housing needs of Vermonters with developmental disabilities. Finally, I move that the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs be relieved of Senate Bill 113, an act relating to requiring gas stations and convenience stores to provide notice to customers and holds on payment at the point of sale, and that the same be committed to the Committee on Transportation.
Now, the senator from Chittenden Southeast has moved that the Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs be relieved of S-113, an act relating to requiring gas stations and convenience stores to provide notice to customers of holds on payment at the point of sale, and that the bill be committed to the Committee on Transportation. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and you have taken action on S-113 as previously described. Are there any other announcements? Senator from Essex.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate institutions will meet at 1:15.
Senator from Addison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Natural Resources and Energy will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Senator from Essex.
15 minutes after follow gavel and apologize.
Senator from Windsor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight's Farmers' Night is a favorite, a perennial favorite. We have our own Vermont National Guard's 40th Army Band playing. I urge you to come. They are always a terrific asset and always cheer us up and give us great music. So come join us 7:30 in the House Chamber for the 40th Army Band.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate now stand adjournment until Thursday, March 16th at 1 p.m. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand adjournment until Thursday, March 16th at 1 p.m.